Hello, welcome to the Devlin Bishop Show. That would make me Devlin Bishop, and I have Corda here. How are you doing today?
Good. How about you?
I am good, and I'm excited because we have got not one but two guests in the studio. Well, they're not actually in the studio; they're coming through Zoom. I don't want people to send me hate comments, though. We'll take any comments you can get. Now, for those of you who don't know, May, one of the things about May is I believe it's Brain Tumor Awareness Month, I think, or brain cancer. It's something like that. And a lot of people, if you've noticed on Facebook, you might notice some of your friends or acquaintances are turning their picture gray or they're sharing personal stories. And it's great to always get the word out there. And we have got two ladies that have taken it even to a more personal level because they have dealt with this in an extremely personal way. They're great friends of mine. And if you are a regular watcher of the Devlin Bishop Show, you'll definitely know both of them because they've both been on in the last couple of months. But today we get mother and daughter together. So I'm going to bring on Lori and Piper Distel. And well, Corda will do that.
Yeah.
I don't do any of that technical stuff. As technical I get is raising my drink to my lips. Oh, no, I did have to plug my camera and microphone.
Yeah, that's true. There they are.
There they are. How are you, lovely ladies?
Good. Yeah.
I
Living
was
our
just
best.
feeling that you guys were both on here, but we have mother and daughter today.
That's
Great.
Yes.
And from our visits in the past, I know that could mean anything. So be prepared.
It could. Together at last.
What's that supposed to mean?
I don't know. I have no clue. And keep in mind, I was there too, so I could have been the instigator as well.
What are the chances?
I've been told I might be a little bit of a bad influence.
Only a little.
So how have you guys been holding up the last little while with all this craziness? I like to check on people during this quarantine time.
Good. We've been good. We've been
We've been busy.
Like strangely busy.
Really,
yeah.
really busy.
Yeah. We see that big light at the end of the tunnel, so we're gonna take full advantage of it. So yeah, we've actually been busy the last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
That's good. And
Yeah.
and it's good to keep busy. And we've promoted several of your shows, and I will constantly promote them. And before we get to talk to the latest project, which I can't wait to talk about because I mentioned to them that this was a very personal project. Like you can't get more personal than this when you're dealing with
yeah.
it. But what I want to talk about is, uh, Laura, you directed. What is the name of the show that Piper and Jeremy were in?
Daddy Longlegs.
Daddy Longlegs. Yeah, you don't say Daddy Longlegs, 9 million times in the thing, but I forget it. And it was a wonderful production, and I loved seeing that you kept holding, holding it over, holding it over. How did it turn out? Like, what was your experience now looking back on it for both of you?
It was actually one of the best experiences
so
I've
much
had.
fun,
But I
yeah.
mean, when you're doing a two-person show with this one and Jeremy Vandenhelm, how like I used to go to rehearsals to be entertained. I didn't really have to really do that much. I mean, it was more, you've been sitting still too long, move. But I didn't have to tell them where to move to. So it was a really, really, really easy process.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd do it again in a heartbeat. And the finished product, I was a little bit worried because this was the first time that we had done something of that scope on video. We've videotaped our shows before, but they've been taped with an audience there, so it was get what you get, right? But this was put together to be shown on video, so I was a little bit nervous. Not that I didn't have, full confidence in our crew, but first time, and I just about cried when I saw the final product. I was
So
really,
amazing,
really,
yeah.
it turned out really, really good. So it's still up for anybody who wants to see it.
Oh, is it?
Still up.
Awesome.
No ticks for you. We're holding it over until the lockdown ends.
nice.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an amazing performance. I think, Corda would agree with me on that.
Sure.
Yeah, I was blown away. I really didn't know what to expect. The only thing I went in knowing is that I know Lori cracks the whip, so I knew we'd get some quality. And I know that Piper and Jeremy have I don't think I've ever seen them do anything, you know, that I wasn't blown away. And I even was like, I think it only took about 20 minutes. I was like totally ready for this. I was just like, it was so lovely. And it was, yeah, I did not know what to expect, except that I do know that you all have a high standard. But it was such a wonderful thing. And I was so happy that you brought it to the attention to people because I had never heard of this musical before. And,
Yeah.
It's
you
so
know,
underrated.
it is, it's so lovely. And I hope one day you do guys get a chance to maybe do it for a live audience as
I
well.
hope so.
We're planning on it.
Yeah.
Hopefully next season, off season next year. Hopefully we'll be.
Because, you know, as performers, you know, like one thing I miss about improv comedy is when I did it on stage, you'd have that instant response. Like you get that connection. You're moving them, you're making them laugh, but you know, when I do podcasts, like I love doing these things, but you know, I sit and wait for comments. Oh, we got such likes. It's just not the same.
No.
I just feel but I guess when you finish the project, you're good. Now, you kept holding it over. Was it a good experience? Was that your first time using tickets? What was it? Tickets for You?
Showtix for You. Yeah, it's a great platform. It's it's a really easy to use platform, which is awesome. I mean, our videographer and our video editor just like uploaded the clip or the video, the file to Showtix. It was maybe 15 minutes, maybe half an hour it took to upload the whole 2-hour show, and yeah, we were set to go. And it is really nice and easy to use for our audience as well, because I mean it's just a couple clicks and you've got the show for a full 48 hours, which is really awesome. Because I know a couple people who had to stop in between. They were like, oh, but we don't want to lose it, so they had to continue it later. Or people who watched it and then watched it again like the next day. Like we had a few people do that, which was awesome. So yeah.
So another success in the Penny and Pound production.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Go us.
Go, absolutely. Yeah, I'm so proud of all the stuff that you guys have been doing, the talent shows, the Daddy Longlegs, and I have good feelings about this project too, which how I guess Piper, this started with you, right?
Yes.
Okay, so why don't I think we talked a little bit, but let's start again. I think we talked about it with Jeremy, but let's start again because that's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. So this all started, we were cleaning out, there's the book. We were, it's your books.
Do we know how to promote?
It's on Amazon. But we were cleaning out our attic and I came across a box of my dad's old works, spanning from 1984, 85 to the early 2000s. And I was like, it's such a shame that my dad never wrote a book. People were at him for years to write a book. He was a fantastic writer. He was a journalist for years, a newspaper reporter. He worked in communications my whole childhood, but he never really went into the world of creative literature, which was a real shame because I mean, he had such an amazing creative mind. And he could have made us very wealthy. But unfortunately, he never did write a book because he said, nobody's, I'm going to put all this work into it. Nobody's going to read it. Nobody's going to read it. I mean, you were like, yeah, but even if nobody reads it, you still have a book. You still can say you did this. And this was before the world of self-publishing got really big. I mean, I know so many people now who have self-published books who have done pretty well for themselves. But so when my dad passed, we were like, oh, too bad Joe never wrote anything. So when I came across these works, I was like, okay, yeah, these are from most of these are from his high school days or his college days. But I'm like, wouldn't it be nice to put these in a book on Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing, which is a self-publishing company, and allow people to finally read his work so he can finally say that he wrote a book. And so that's how Small Blessings came to be. I'm hoping to release a second one relatively soon. So
nice.
Well, yeah, because there's more. I got boxes upon boxes of stuff. So yeah, so that's how the book Small Blessings came to happen.
That's a wonderful story. It's almost like when you find stuff like that. Like you knew he was writing, but when you uncovered that box, that must have almost been like a message from him
Exactly,
in
yeah.
some ways. Yeah. Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Now, um, Joe passed of a brain tumor. Um, I think it's important for people to know that because that's what you're focusing on when you're promoting this show. Am I correct on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got to know you guys several years before this, but I was a little bit there for you guys when you were going through it, and I
Yeah.
remember even I don't want to get too heavy here for you guys because I know this is probably a bittersweet roller coaster ride for you the next couple weeks. But I literally remember the ice cream party where Joe told me about his bad back and how Lori was bugging him to go, and he had just made the appointment. And I remember saying, "Well, good for Lori to get you to do that." And then the what I found out later blew me away because I remember that moment so vividly, and
I remember,
I
yeah.
couldn't. It at that moment when I found out what happened when he was diagnosed, like, and people have to realize that a lot of times tumors are diagnosed because of other symptoms and stuff.
Mhm.
Uh, what was that like to have to deal with that as a family?
It
Because
was, yeah, it was so fast that we didn't really have a chance to sit down and think about it. We had that, or at least from my end,
Yeah, I was gonna say
um,
that you were what 13 years
13.
old.
So my
Um,
sister and I didn't have the opportunity
yeah,
to
yeah,
go through.
yeah. It was horrifying. It was horrifying to actually have that diagnosis. And Piper's right. Things did happen fast. I mean, he went into the hospital on June 8th because he had a really, really bad headache, and he said, "This isn't a normal headache. This isn't a migraine. This is something that I've
Something's
never
wrong.
had before." Went into the hospital. He was diagnosed on June 9th, and then uh, the following week he had brain surgery. Like that's how fast it was. And then I think they gave him maybe a week or so to recover from that surgery, and he was at the Juravinski getting both chemo and radiation for, I think the first time around was like a month or 6 weeks
I think it was 6 weeks.
of him having radiation and chemo. And it was horrifying. I remember actually standing in the kitchen all by myself thinking, am I ever going to feel normal again? Like, is this how I'm going to feel for the rest? Like, it was bad. It was intense. But I mean, when stuff like that happens, once you're past the initial shock, you just kind of go on autopilot and
yeah,
deal with it. And it wasn't until Joe passed that the girls and I sat down and said, "Oh, like, how the heck did we get through that? How are we still standing?" But you do it. You don't think about it at the time, right?
yeah, and as I said, I remember we'd come to visit at the Wakefords and Corda's parents, and I remember Joe dealing with this in the early stages. And what I was always impressed is because I thought how hard this must have been because you had two young girls. You didn't know what you were facing, and you got the diagnosis like it was a whirlwind. But I remember a moment, and again, I remember these little things, and that's one of the things that I love about your family and love about Joe is I remember there was a moment that Chloe and Joe were in the pool, and I was drying off because I had just gotten out. And I remember Chloe was asking a question to Joe about losing his hair. And I remember that Joe just answered honestly
Yeah.
and with a little bit of levity, because that's what Joe did. And
Yeah.
I loved that you just didn't try to hide from it. You
Yeah.
just realized that, okay, this is an honest question. My youngest
Yeah.
daughter is asking me a question.
Yeah.
And if she's watching this, she was Chloe at the time, so I'm not suggesting her name change in any way. But I thought it was such a beautiful moment. and I'm trying not to cry at the time because okay,
No,
they're not crying. I should be being.
but really, Don, that we don't want to wreck our makeup.
Yeah, true.
Really, that does sum Joe up. He was. Now, did we ever say to the girls, "Your dad's gonna die"?
No.
No, we did not. Did they ever say to us at the Juravinsky, "Joe's gonna die"? No, they did
No.
not. And I think that was a good thing. I don't regret not getting that honest, because I mean, we were told it could, life expectancy 15 months, but who knows, right? Everybody's brain is different. So
Yeah.
so but Joe, you summed him up. He was very honest, but he always kind of did it in a kind and humorous way. That was my Joe.
Yeah. So what I loved about this book idea was that you were paying tribute to him because Joe did have some insecurities about being a writer. But I love that he still saved the stuff, because a good writer always saves everything, even if they didn't like it, because it's something you can always borrow from later and stuff. And I love that you got to pay tribute to him. Now, Piper, I might be wrong here, but did you make a comment that there was a side that you think your dad might be up in heaven going, "Don't you do this, don't you do this"?
I guarantee my dad is up in heaven going, "I didn't want that to be, no, you weren't supposed to read that. No, if I wanted to publish it, I would have published it, And I'm just kind of like, you know what? He was so apathetic that nothing ever got done. He was like, I have to think about it. Let's talk about it. For like the fact that Ellie is here at all is ridiculous to me, because he's just like, Mom's like, I want to have another baby. Yeah, let's wait. Let's, put it up in for Mom. Why I'm an only child, because he'd still be talking about it. So I was like, I'm more like my mother in that way, where I'm kind of like, get crap done. I wanna put that out there. I'm like, what's the worst that's gonna happen, right?
But I think those. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I think those are the best relationships, when you have the one that's grounded and the one that's a little bit more like, let's get it done, let's dream, let's go for the big. Because Mike and I are like that. Let's put on a show, and he's let's talk about it. And I think those relationships work because they balance well. Because when you get two wild childs, or two, let's not do that this week, it doesn't often work. So I think that's why your family worked like that, because you did have that one that grounded and stuff. But I'm glad that that he might be cursing you out a little bit.
I guarantee you. My dad and I had a very complicated relationship, so and that's something I'll get into later.
And one thing that I love about it is, knowing Joe, he would know that you would have done it. Like, you would be the one.
Yeah. I was the trouble. I was the headstrong one. I was the what's the word I'm looking for? PG. The troublemaker. Of the two of us, because Ellie is so much like my dad, like in a lot of her mannerisms and everything, and I'm so much like Mom, that it's just I was always the headstrong, kind of free-spirited, passionate one who flies off the handles a lot. I was the one with the temper. I was the one. I'm a very passionate person. So like, all of my emotions are like 10 times more than my dad's were, because my dad was so low. So I think we did butt heads a lot when I was a kid, more when I was a little bit older, when I was, preteen kind of age group, like 11, 12, 13. Because when I was really little, I mean, I was a total daddy's girl when I was little, but around the time that he got sick, things kind of shifted in our relationship a little bit, and I still kind of feel bad that we never really had a chance to reconcile our relationship. And that's still something that bothers me. It's something that's always going to bother me, even though technically speaking, there's nothing I can do about it. Because it was so complicated when he got really, really bad. But I'm looking at this project as a way to kind of reconcile and kind of, put to bed like bad feelings and emotions.
Well, yeah, and there's so much tension and like passion in something like this. Like you're dealing with so much emotions and everybody's feeling something different. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
you play it in your head over and over about like, I wish that was resolved. Or I love chapters closing. Like I don't like unresolved stuff, so I always like a good chapter closing. But when you get older in life, you start realizing that it doesn't always happen.
You know what was happening.
So speaking of chapters, so the book could have ended just there. You published your dad's words and planned to publish future, but it didn't. How did it get to the next stage, which is what we're here to talk about mostly?
Yeah. Well, it started with this is the 5th year, or technically the 5th anniversary of his death in December. So May is Brain Tumor Awareness Month. So turn May gray. You see, the gray ribbon or whatever. That's what it's for. It's for brain tumors. And I was thinking, we were looking for things to do after Daddy Longlegs. Mom and I were talking about a couple shows and everything that we could maybe put together, but we didn't have that much time. We were like, we don't want to have a gap between Daddy Longlegs and our One Act Festival in July, which we'll get to that later. So we wanna put something up, and I thought, why not do an audio presentation or virtual presentation of Dad's works, because the stories. Well, he has one play. For those people who read the book, How Great Thou Arthur, which is being presented. That's the first in the series that on the 29th in that evening of Paul Blessing's works. But there's also other shows that or other stories that work so well to be adapted into kind of radio dramas or audio dramas. We kept all his words the same. So in the stories that were short stories that have been kind of adapted, there's a narrator who reads all his words. We didn't want to derive too far from what he had written.
Nice.
But yeah, we have people kind of filling in the gaps when it comes to the characters speaking. So in the Miles story, so there's 2 Miles stories, character Miles Ruckers, who's the travel agent. 2 of those stories are featured in Small Blessings, so it's Mom on the Mantle and Miles at Midnight. Those ones have a narrator, but also have people reading the characters as well. So it's just going to be a really cool evening where we can kind of honor his work, but also it's serving as a fundraiser for the Brain Tumor Foundation of Canada. So it's free admission. It's online. It's on YouTube and Facebook, but a donation is greatly appreciated and encouraged through the Brain Tumor Foundation.
Well, we'll definitely be promoting that on Mondo Nostalgia as we're doing right now, and I look forward to it. I have a question for both of you. When you read your father's stories, did you feel you learned something about him, maybe that you didn't expect?
Well, I was privy to them early on,
Yeah.
right? I mean, when I met Joe, I got to read his stories. So for me, it was just kind of taking me back 30 years
Yeah.
and, remembering and kind of refamiliarizing myself with his talent, because he was an extraordinarily talented writer. So it was kind of cool reading them again, because it's not really something, it's a box in the attic. It's not something that, you take out very often. And truth be told, I forgot about a lot of them. But it was kind of heartwarming for me to read them, and to know actually that his children were going to be able to read them and kind of get a sense of his talent.
And Piper, what did you learn about your dad through these stories?
I never read these stories before. I'd heard about them. There were certain stories that people had talked about, Mom on the Mantle being one of them. I'd heard about Mom on the Mantle for years, and actually that's why I went up to the attic in the first place. I wanted to find Mom on the Mantle, and I happened to find a whole bunch of them. But the one story that really stuck with me, he wrote essays as well. I have a bunch of essays, and some of those are included in Small Blessings. And the one is called Dog Days of Life, and it's about his German Shepherd Ahab, who he had when he was a little boy. And that one really opened my eyes to something, because the other stories are fun and they're fictional, and it's exactly what my dad would write. Just kind of the tone and the cheekiness with the darkness of some of those stories. It's very Joe. But Dog Days of Life opened my eyes to, I don't know how to say this on the internet, kind of how messed up his upbringing was. My dad had a really messed up upbringing. He had a loving parents, loving siblings, but a very dysfunctional family. Trust me, I'm dealing with them now. I know how dysfunctional they are. But in this dog days of life, when he mentions when his dog died, he wasn't allowed to cry. His father told him not to cry. He was 12 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. And the dog was his, like, Joe, to the day he died, talked about Ahab. He loved that dog. And yeah, it was disturbing to
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't want to slander any names or anything. I love my
No,
family.
that's not why we're here.
Yeah, I adore my family. I did not know my grandfather very well. He passed away when I was pretty young. He was always very kind to me. He loved my sister and I. He loved my mom. But I know the kind of person Joe Sr. was just from talking to my Uncle James and who I'm pretty close with, and talking to my dad. He was an unintentionally kind of cold person, and he didn't. And my dad was very sensitive. You guys knew my dad. Like, my dad was a very, very sensitive person, and I think a lot of why he never published a book and why he never did this came from his family.
Yeah.
Because it was always, oh, Joe can't do that. Oh, Joey can't do, because he was the youngest, and he was born with thrombosis, which is kind of a muscular problem. It was corrected in his very early life, so I never saw the effects of that. But he was held back his entire childhood, and Dog Days of Life really showed that to me. Just reading that essay, I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is crazy. And he had a really bad time in elementary school and high school when he was a kid. Like, I mean, I'm sure you guys have all heard stories about the Catholic schools in the States and the nuns. There are lots of stories that go around, and it wasn't that severe with my dad, but it was pretty messed up. High school, same thing. So he had a really rough upbringing, and I think I'd always kind of heard just bits and pieces. He didn't talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
But reading that and realizing it wasn't, just him over exaggerating when he got older, trying to prove a point to us, like, look how good you guys have it type thing. To really read it in the moment, that was it really kind of opened my eyes.
That's very insightful, like what you're saying about your grandfather and stuff, because I think we all grew up with people in our lives that were like very cold, but because you don't see it, there is still, like, we forget that there is a human side to them. So, but it's hard to deal with when you deal with that. And yeah, because whenever I hear people talking about older members of families, I think of my grandparents and my father and my mother, and how they would be like, wow, I don't know if they'd fit in with society now, because the older generation that was just how they were brought up, and they were brought up by a even weirder generation and stuff. And they had their strengths, but a lot of their strengths also were weaknesses that just weren't dealt with. So, and unfortunately, like, sometimes kids like Joe would suffer from that. But maybe that was why he was drawn to someone like Lori, or somebody totally.
I think so.
But that's wonderful. That's great. And to get to learn that side about your father is incredible. Just to learn something more. So you said is this all going to be audio, or is there going to be any film stuff, or?
Yeah, so it's actually Zoom theater. We were planning on doing it differently, but lockdown had other ideas. But it's going to be Zoom theater, so you will be able to see the people. We kind of have some kind of fun backgrounds and everything for the different locations and everything. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be pre-recorded and put up, so it'll be edited together. We're going to have some people speak. We're going to have, some photos, and, the Brain Tumor Foundation has sent me a couple videos that are going to be included in. So it's going to be an overall uplifting night. That's what we want more than anything, for this to uplift people. And yeah, it was a sad end for my dad, but we want to show people that, he had a legacy and he had a life that he left behind, and we're really honoring that. We're honoring everybody who either has a brain tumor currently, who has loved somebody who's had a brain tumor, or who has, passed away from a brain tumor. We really want to honor them.
That's wonderful. And you want to entertain. Because, you don't want people to think, oh, this is for the Brain Tumor Association. Is this going to be a downer? But
Yeah.
you can celebrate life. There's a celebration you can have in that.
That's right.
It's wonderful.
And our cast,
Pardon? Sorry?
our
Go on, Lori.
cast for this is phenomenal.
Mhm.
We got our
An
top notch.
A-list,
Yeah.
group of
So
people.
and it was
Any
really
shout outs you want to give to any of them?
Yeah, to everybody.
Yeah.
People who have seen a lot of Penny and Pound shows will recognize a lot of these names. Jeremy Vandenhelm, who obviously was just in Daddy Long Legs. Justin Ballrath, who is fantastic, one of my favorite people to act with, playing the role of Miles Rutgers in the two Miles stories. Does a really amazing job being a travel agent. Arthur G. Brooke is a newcomer to our company, but he is one of the finest actors I've ever worked with.
phenomenal.
Beautiful speaking voice too, so nice and clear. Everybody,
Yeah.
he does a lot of our narration. Sydney Shaw, amazing. Marley Sullivan, amazing. Rob Kerwayne is a newcomer who's also great. And then Ellie and I, obviously. Chris Kelland, who knew my dad personally along with Marley. So it's kind of special for them. Chris is reading one of my favorite things my dad wrote, which is a poem called Slipping, which is one of my favorite things. And then Hannah and Danielle Dunn, who are Karina's daughters, who knew my dad personally. They're also taking part. I think I got everybody. I think I had. Oh, and Colin MacArthur Jackson.
Oh, yes.
Colin.
Yes.
Sorry, Colin. I love you. Colin's amazing. He was our Quasimodo. Beautiful singing voice. Fantastic actor.
Great actor.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nice. I recognize a lot of the names, and I've seen several of the
Mhm.
plays, so I'm pretty sure I'll recognize some.
Well,
And
yeah.
Lori, did you direct any of this, or did Piper
Yes.
direct it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Piper
Yeah.
and I.
Yeah, we
Piper and I.
co-directed. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. So is
Yeah.
directing something you look forward to do in the future, Piper?
Hit and miss. I prefer being on stage at this point in my life. I prefer being directed. But maybe in the future. There's a couple shows I'd like to direct in the future.
That translates to directing is hard.
It's too hard. I don't. This group was fantastic. My past directing, or my other directing gig I did, was not as great. But that wasn't directing's fault. That was the process's fault. That was a couple people in my past were problematic, not meaning to land or I'm not saying what show or who it was. But there's a couple shows in the future that I want to give a go, maybe. See if in the future Penny and Pound, Mom and I direct a couple shows together. It could be kind of fun. So yeah.
Now, Lori, I have to ask you the question. Do you ever get the itch to go back on the stage?
Oh yeah. Oh for sure. Yeah. I never have time. I always seem to be directing stuff, so or writing stuff. That seems to be our new thing now too. So eventually, yeah, I would love. Like the last time I was on stage was in Doubt in 2014, and actually, I directed that show, and I had an actor drop out on me like with 2 weeks to go, and so I stepped in to fill in. But it was fun.
Nice.
But yeah, eventually, I would love to get back on stage if I ever have time.
I would love to see Piper directing you.
Why do you hate?
A little bit of a yeah for all the times you directed, huh?
Well, I was gonna say, payback's a bitch, Don. I don't know.
Well, I still wait for that Carrie musical with the two of you. 'Cause
I would love to do that. Oh my god,
so bad.
that is a dream role of mine. I would love to be.
I
Margaret.
would never be cast as Carrie. I'd be Sue Snell. I know I'd be Sue Snell if I ever did that show.
Well, if you direct it, you can be Carrie,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
whatever you
I'll
want,
be
yeah.
Carrie. I'll direct it
Yeah.
and be Carrie.
Yeah, there you go.
Just
I want to
suck-
direct. Sorry, go
just
ahead.
suck when they put the set on fire and stuff like that. I heard a
Yeah.
couple
Yeah.
get beheaded a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I want to direct the stage production of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane with Mom and her business partner Karina. That's a stage show, and I found it, and I was like, "Whoa, I know what I'm doing one day."
I have a
Baby Jane.
friend who is a comedian, and her name's Colette Kendall, and she's an amazing comedian and actress. And we always joke that we wanted to do whatever happened to Baby Jane. I'd be pushing her around in the wheelchair, and I'd be known as Betty Davis. And yeah, we always joked about. Even she did a one-woman show, and we said even for a promotional thing, we thought about it, but we never did it, which is too bad. I fell in love with that movie the first time I saw it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
fantastic. I just watched it.
Now you guys are up on your musical. Is that a Mommy Dearest musical?
Not to my
I
knowledge.
don't think so.
Oh.
I can't believe it, because that should be done with drag queens. And
Yeah, no kidding, eh?
That'd be so
That
good.
is phenomenal.
That needs to happen.
There's our next project.
Yeah, Mommy Dearest with drag queens. I'm so down.
you're telling me they've done musicals for everything, and the most obvious one is not done even. There's got to be at least off Broadway. Come on, that's.
I'll search it. I've never heard of that.
No, my favorite quote by John Waters, one of my favorite directors, he said that it's unfortunately because of the topic that Mommy Dearest is about, that unfortunately that movie created more drag queens than it did actual activists against child abuse.
Yes.
And I always felt that Christina Crawford, I know we're getting off topic here, but I can't believe she did not sue them.
Yeah.
Because that movie totally makes it sound like she wrote that book out of revenge, and none of it was true.
Yeah.
And if that was me, I would have been really pissed, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Me too.
I was shocked
Yeah.
to find out she actually had 4 kids and only 2 appear in the movie, because the other 2 said, yeah, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I heard about that. I know it's controversial, the Joan Crawford, Christina Crawford drama. But I hear they're remaking Mommy Dearest. I don't know if you guys heard that. I heard they were remaking it a long time ago that they were talking about it. But they were like, oh, we're going to remake Mommy Dearest for like Hulu, or they were going to do it as like a miniseries. And I was like, well, I mean, that could be either a good thing or a bad thing. Because good thing if they actually put light on the child abuse and actually make it more like the act when the act was released about Gypsy Rose Blanchard. But if they try to make it really campy again, it's gonna be like, I feel like this age well, like I feel like this is a different generation, and the Faye Dunaway one is great, but if you're trying to, because we respect it for what it is, but if you try to remake it.
The sad thing is I think they thought they were making a serious film.
Yeah.
Like, it was not made for camp. It just, people watched it going, this is horrible. And then other people watched it saying, this is totally camp.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny because some people say it's one of Faye Dunaway's best performance, but it's so over the top, it destroyed her career.
Yeah.
So when people said she probably should have got an Oscar nomination, but she does it so much. Like, there is a scene I love with the wire hanger scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Literally crosses her eyes and looks like she's like holding up the hanger like I've got kryptonite in my hand and I'm Superman.
Yeah.
And I think it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. Every time I show somebody that, I have to explain to people, I am not against child abuse, you know. I have dealt with it in my own way in some ways, and please do not hate me for this, but I have to show you this movie because it's brilliant as well.
Yeah, it's something.
Yeah, how did we get on this? You were worried this was going to be all just we're talking about child abuse, Mommy Dearest?
Dad's up there going, what? Why Mommy Dearest? What a weird choice.
Well, he's probably happy we're not talking about him anymore. You know, we're like,
Yeah, probably. Yeah, he's probably a closet Faye Dunaway fan. You know what I'm saying? Like,
maybe he's hanging with Joan Crawford. You know, hey, was it true?
Maybe. Joan and Zaja.
Yep.
Yeah, I have to ask this. Now, I've talked. Probably you've told me this, but we got to get this so it's on a podcast. What was Joe's obsession with Zaja Gabor?
He didn't understand why she was famous.
Yeah. He was right ticked off that she had all this money for doing nothing.
And she punched it.
And I mean, that was our whole time together. Like, from the time I met him, he's like, what the frick is up with Zaja Gabor? And I'm like, Why are you even talking about Zaja Gabor? Nobody talks about Zaja Gabor.
Every New Year from the
Yep.
time I was little, go another year and Jaja's still alive.
That was before you. That was my whole time with him. He loathed that woman.
He hated Jaja
Yeah.
Gabor. And then when
Yeah.
she lost her legs, it was very, very sad.
Yeah.
But when she lost her legs, he's like, now she doesn't have
Yeah.
legs.
Yeah. Now she's
Why
really no
is she
good.
here?
Like, go die already.
Now, did he have the same thing against Ava Gabor, or she? Or,
No, because she was an actress.
Yeah, she was an
Okay,
actress.
yeah.
Yeah, she actually had a purpose.
And
Yeah.
she didn't punch a
He
cop.
didn't like the whole socialite type thing. He thought that was just bogus.
But when you look at it
I
now,
think secretly he wanted to be a socialite.
I think so.
oh, maybe, yeah. Because if you
They
think
just
about it
like-
now, Zaja is kind of groundbreaking because there's a lot of socialites that become famous now.
Kardashian. the whole
Zaja was
Kardashian
doing it before.
Yeah.
It's my goal when I become old and embittered to every New Year go, Kim's still here, guys. Kim's still here. Like, I want people to talk about Kim the way we talk about Zaja. Because I can't stand the Kardashian Jenner family. I cannot stand them. You know, Caitlyn, very
Yeah.
brave. Not agree with what she said about, this is getting very political, not agree what she said about trans sports. That made me very angry. I was like, how can you be a member of the LGBT plus community and not be pro having transgendered people on, you know, the preferred sports team? But whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever, Caitlyn.
Yeah, I always remembered the day Zaja died. I pictured Joe up there. Just like, she better not get in or something like that. It's funny that I thought of Joe Distel after I heard about Zaja's death, and I never understood exactly. I just know Zaja came up a couple times, and I go, boy, he
Yeah.
really was not like Zaja. But
That's what it was. Well, it was hilarious, Don, because Zaja died on the day of
his
Joe's memorial. And so we got home from the memorial service and we were getting ready to go out and get something to eat. And my phone rang and it was my best friend Kathy. And we never ever talk on the phone. We keep talking on the phone. So we avoid talking on the phone at all costs. So I picked the phone up and she says, "Hi Laura, it's Kath." "Hi Kath, what's up?" She goes, "Who died?" I'm like, "Oh, who died?" She said, "I have to put you on speakerphone for this," which should have been my tip off. So she puts me on speakerphone and I said, "What's going on? Who died?" And she goes, pardon the language, "Zaja fucking Gabor!" And then my cell phone started to ding, ding, ding.
Everybody was texting
everybody's texting us going, "Hey, did you hear who died? Joe killed Zaja." So yeah,
you think Joe put in a word?
He got up there.
I think that Joe got up there and knocked on God's door and said, "God, I have something I want to discuss with you." And God said, "What is that, Joe?" And Joe said, "Zaja Gabor." And God said, "Yeah, she's been dead since 1982, Joe." And Joe said, no, God, she's still on earth." And God went, "Gabriel, get in here." And Gabriel came in and said, "Oversight, God, sorry, I'll take care of it right away. Sorry, God." I think that's what
Gabriel
happened.
lost his job that day.
Yeah, I
and
think-
it
I
was
think that's how
very
it went
sad.
I hope you don't think this is too mean-spirited, but when you do Small Blessings 2 or whatever that's going to be called, I hope one of the short stories you find a Zaja Gabor impersonator to do the presentation so Joe can be like, "Oh, you," and I'll take credit for that. I'll take credit, but I just think it would be a weird tribute to him, and
I love that.
but he couldn't say Zaja didn't do anything. He contributed now to.
Is there a market for Shawshank Gabor impersonators? Like, is that a market I'm unaware of?
You know what?
Because I'd like to find one.
I have been gay all my life pretty much, and I have just become associated with RuPaul's Drag Race. And so I'm just learning the world of drag, and I have been blown away by so much I didn't know. But I don't believe there's Zaja Gabor. I think she probably sued them if they tried.
Probably.
Just
Yeah.
punch him.
Yeah.
She punches everybody, or
Slap
slap
him.
him. She
Yeah.
slapped a cop. Yeah,
Yeah.
she slaps everybody else. So.
Did no one ever show him Queen of Outer Space? She did act in that B movie. back in the 50s and 60s.
You don't hear that a lot. They could act in that B movie.
Well, I think you might want to wait because Count Devlin is probably going to do that one at some point, so
I
it
hope
might
so.
be more fun. I
mean,
promise
we
to
do
get
for
a
that.
Joe Distel reference in that one if I get to do it.
You should. See if we can spiritually connect with Dad. See what he has to say.
I'll share a little story with you. I probably told you this when we were visiting with you, but I'll share it again because it reminds me of Zaja on Joe's memorial passing away. My dad was never a religious man. He was forced to go to church, so it always kind of made him. He had his beliefs, but he hated he wouldn't force his kids to go to church because he always said his belief was I was forced to go to church and I didn't want to, and it made me not like church. So with his kids, he always said, I want you guys to find out what your beliefs are and you go follow that. Which my dad never said profound things, but that was probably one of the few that he did. But I remember the day he died. We were very emotional and, getting all the arrangements made. And later, I believe either later that day or the day, I think it was the same day, the current Pope died. And me and my brothers couldn't stop giggling because we kept thinking, that's just my dad's life. Like, he gets to go to the pearly gates, and now the Pope is going to be like, okay, everybody else has to wait now because this is going to be a production. This is the Pope. And my dad's probably thinking, I beat him. And he's fine now because they need a 24-hour service. And so it reminded me of Joe getting visited by Zaja.
Yes.
I hope Joe, this is weird, but I do hope Joe and Zaja had a sit down and she explained her life to him.
He would have been like, I don't care, Zaja. I don't care, Zaja.
No, he just would have slapped her at the end of the conversation. It would have been great. How's it feel, Shawshank?
Oh my god. All right. I didn't expect so much giggling when we were talking about this subject matter, but I had to ask that because it came up. Zaja Gabor has never been talked about more by me.
No.
Ever.
No.
But
no.
yeah, so let's wrap things up by letting us know when we'll be able to see this, how we can see it. You mentioned it a little bit, so who does the promotion the best here? As Lori looks at Piper.
I'll give this over to
Okay. So, Small Blessings will be available on Facebook, our Facebook page, Penny and Pound Theater Productions, and our YouTube channel, also Penny and Pound Theater Productions. It is going up live on Saturday, May 29th at 7 p.m. I'm going to keep it up. It's not going to be taken down. You can watch it anytime, but May is the hub of when we'd like the donations to be given because of Brain Tumor Awareness Month. It's kind of the best time to show your support to them.
But you were
yeah.
able to donate past that as well?
Yes.
Okay.
You can definitely donate past that. Yeah. So on our Facebook, the video will have a donation link directly attached to it, like you can do on Facebook. That will go right to the Brain Tumor Foundation, and then our YouTube video will have a link to their website as to where you can donate. So.
Perfect. Excellent. And I will put it on Mondo Nostalgia every time I get a chance to promote it for sure. And thank you guys for coming on. Yeah, anytime you need to promote a show or just want to come on and talk about Mommy Dearest and Zaja Gabor, we're here.
Yeah.
We're
Awesome.
Here. We need to get the Wakefords on here and just have a nice chat like we do normally.
Oh yeah, no
Put
kidding.
that
Eh?
online.
We're gonna land on their backyard as soon as this lockdown is up. I hope you might want to prepare them.
Yeah, I think we need to all bring ice cream and have
That's a great idea.
ice cream
Yes.
reunion, and everybody brings a little bit of something.
That'd be
I
sweet.
think that's a
Yeah,
great
I
idea. We
think
should arrange
need
that.
this. I think there'll be lots of hugging and stuff when this is all over. I can't wait.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Lori and Piper, and definitely go check out Small Blessings. But you can also buy the book on Amazon. Is that right? Amazon?
Yes. Yeah.
And definitely check it out, and you can, spoilers, because you'll see some of it coming to life. I'm not a big reader, so I'm very happy you're doing a performance of it, because I always feel bad. I promote books, but it when I flipped through it, but I'm not a reader, so I like
Yeah.
to
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
I read one Harry Potter book and said, "Oh, the movies seem okay." So I probably should have kept reading the books because the movies.
Maybe, yeah, yeah.
Anyhow, thank you for coming on, and yeah, you take care, and thank you, Corda, and thank you all of you for checking it out, and definitely support Penny and Pound and Joe Distel and his works that are finally coming to light, and yeah, thank you for watching.